everyone. I think I see a room which is very interesting right now. Whether it should be left, right, or center, let me keep figuring it out. This is going to be like a sweet 15 minutes where we will talk about technology, what exactly we provide in the entire industry. Before I go and talk about technology and solutions, let me just have a quick dipstick reference out here. How many of us in this particular room would have a reference for BenQ as a brand? I mean, okay, great. This slide is like something which is very close. This typically defines what BenQ is in this industry and how we foresee this brand going forward into the industry as well. Today in the country, when we look at it, and I'm typically addressing the audience which is there in this room right now, schools, as in primary, secondary schools as a space when we look at it, and if we have deployed technologies and if we are currently having digital classrooms out there, working with any system integration solution provider out there, there has got to be one BenQ in, I would say, the rooms where we are teaching our students out there. So from a country reference, when we look at it, we take a lot of pride in mentioning that 2 out of 3 classrooms in the country would be using BenQ projection solutions out there. And this is like growing, and we thank all of you who have been like BenQ patrons out there using these devices over the years in the industry. Obviously, like when it goes to the product and technologies, there are going to be a lot of things which we talk about, which are going to be tech jargons out there. So I'll try and see if I can avoid those tech jargons and give you more relevant reference out there. So this stands in terms of our market share and penetration out there. When we look into technologies, projection technology is like something which has been there in the industry for a couple of decades. There used to be an erstwhile reference when we used to say we have got LCD projectors. Now people say we have got LCD projectors, and they also say like we have got DLPs, and they will also say like we have got laser projectors, and so on and so forth out there. So there's a lot of technology which has moved on, and at BenQ we have been moving on with these technologies, and we've been providing solutions which take us very close to that position, which is leadership, and we have been sustaining that leadership position over the years. And this is a quick reference from FutureSource, one of these bodies which is national body giving a reference to the entire industry in terms of market share presence for the brands which are into projection and display solutions. And we have been by far over the last decade been one of the top brands out there providing relevant solutions to the industry. And we talk about global presence out there. We would say this is a $25+ billion industry organization from an industry standpoint, which has been servicing more than 6 decades the entire presence with projection and display solutions. Coming to India, a reference what we have is something what we see getting into system integration, getting into government institutions, getting into private institutions. We have BenQ being addressed out there in almost every spectrum out there, and that's been like one of those codes. One of those core initiatives by the government of India when we look at digital classroom creations out there is like a pivot out there when we look at the investments which have been happening and the transformation which has been happening. And KITES happens to be one of those institutions which we are seeing in here, where a couple of thousands, and we are talking about 40,000, close to 40,000 odd classrooms have been converted into digital over the last year. And this year, again, Kerala might be one of those states in the country which would convert another lot of similar classrooms getting into digital platforms out there. So that's the overview where we see the industry is moving and where we see the digital classroom penetrations are happening in the industry right now. A couple of interesting things when we look into projection as an industry. We all understand projection. I think the way this industry has moved on is a journey. I mean, there were times when we had projectors, and we still use them quite often out there, where we will be standing in between the projectors out there. There is going to be a projector at the back and screen in the front, and the teacher is going to be in the middle out there. That used to be the classroom scenario a couple of decades back, and this has transformed when we look at it as a journey. Back into the stall, when you look at it, you will see these devices which are actually on the wall. What we typically call these are ultra short throws and short throws out there in terms of projectors, where there is no more distraction, distortion of the images, and this is continuing. This is continuing now, where this used to be a monologue or a one-way presentation all these years, and now the industry is like witnessing something which we say is interactive projectors out there. So you can walk up onto the screens and you can touch those screens, and these are not digital screens. These are like regular walls. The walls on which we are making presentations or we are doing these displays, you can just touch and you can have the interactivity being integrated as a part of projectors offering out there. So that's like something which we say is current, and again, technology is something which will never be static. So this further evolves out there, and we talk about new innovations which are coming in right now, where when we look into these solutions, we are getting into customization to the level we need it. So the interactive kits being integrated onto the devices is something which is current day reality, and moving forward, the industry is moving towards devices which are very relevant from an Indian standpoint when we look at it. Standing in front of you, talking about Indian relevance out there, something which we can never ignore and which we have got to always admire being in India is we have an environment where we can take a pride on this, or we can take the reference of the stats which you are seeing on the screen. India happens to be the country where we have got the highest level of pollutions out there, and we are talking about particulates out there which typically impact electronic gadgets and devices out there. So when you look at India out there, I mean, there's a strong reference. I think everything when it is like looked at India is like orange and red, which is the highest level of concentration of dust particles into the environment, and this typically impacts the performance of the devices. We can acknowledge ourselves when we look into a screen in here, like the kind of environments which we'll have in our schools. Many plush schools out there where we will have like greeneries around, but still we will have a lot of pollution around, and this typically impacts these devices which are digital projection solutions out there. And that's what we are addressing in terms of taking care of all the challenges which have been there in the industry over the years in terms of failures which are either on count of dust accumulation on various components of the projectors. Again, I won't go too technical out there, but the failure rates and all of these things get attributed because of the dust which has been around us. And the solution comes up in terms of something which you can again witness at our stall outside, the Dust Guard in the Dust Guard Pro series. Now these are like projectors where virtually there is a sealed casing out there, so what you eventually get in is a device where there are no particulate materials which can get in, and it brings in something which is longevity to the investments which we are trying to do for our education institutions out there. And this typically slide, which is again a bit technical, but it talks about in terms of what all are these gradings which are there, which we are providing in terms of the projectors. Another interesting piece of technology reference which is like happening all around us is interactive displays and interactive solutions. So one side is projectors which are becoming interactive, and second side when we look at is looking into screens which are becoming interactive now. So we have witnessed boards as in whiteboards, ceramic boards and things like those out there. We have witnessed interactive boards as well where we could write with the projector on there. Still there are boards where we can write. And today when we look at it, the technology is where we are providing boards which are as good as computers. So to state like these are interactive boards and panels which have got operating system built in. Think about our own tabs and our own phones, and if you can imagine them to be on the walls, and if they are like 55, 65, 75, 86 inches and larger in sizes, that's what exactly the interactive flat panel industry is all about now. And that's something which is an innovation where for kids from an interaction perspective, for teachers from a perspective of deploying the educational content, it is like a lot more engaged platform to work along and have the students like enjoy the experiences out there. I won't go for these statistics, but very relevant when we look at it from an Indian standpoint. I mean, a couple of these statistics talk about the way the technology is inducted out there in the Western world. I won't say like we are at 12% in India and the world is at 85 and 87%, but yes, these are real statistics out there in terms of interactive solutions getting deployed in our classroom infrastructure into secondary and primary education frameworks out there. So long way to go, but I think all of these are technologies which are like today we feel we should induct on, because we will prepare our students which are going to be like world as a place for them to witness, work and acknowledge out there, looking into these devices and working on these devices. Interesting references what you see on these slides. Again, there are a couple of countries which have taken a lot of lead in terms of investments and in terms of going forward out there. I would like to talk about a few things in here in terms of why an interactive panel and how exactly we differentiate when we talk about an interactive panel solution out there. Any one of us who would tell our kids that you can watch a TV for 8 hours or 10 hours a day? Anyone in this room who would do that? Anyone? And I think if I ask the question, I mean, the basic answer is going to be it impacts the eyesight out there. Am I right saying that, or is there some other logic that we don't let our kids like watch TVs for 6, 8, 10 hours out there in a day? I mean, predominantly that's one of the reasons out there which we will be citing out there. Now, technology has moved on. When we say technology has moved on in these interactive panels, there's something which we say, and there's a white paper to this, the light which impacts the eyesight is like a blue light, which is between 420 nanometers to 455 nanometers. That's the light wavelength of blue which is like impacting the cornea of the eyes. And when we look at these panels which we bring to the industry, we take a lot of pride in, besides BenQ, there are a few more brands which would be taking pride in mentioning that we have got blue light control in our panels out there. So typically with these panels, we can let our students and our teachers work for 8, 10, 12 hours. There is going to be no impact. There is a technology white paper, and the technology is like nothing. It's just about blue light filter out there where you are able to control the light which impacts the cornea of the eye. Now, interesting, if in case you have bought a phone in the last 2 years, what I just mentioned is what you can check. You have, like, if you have a smartphone out there, you would have a blue light filter out there on your smartphones as well. So it's not just about the interactive panel. This is like all around us right now in terms of the technology which is there. Two more things which are like very important when we look into these panels. We go back to our houses and we take a screenshot of, not a screenshot, rather a video clipping of 10 seconds for the TV which we have been watching back home. If you do that today, and do that if in case you wish to, it would help, because if you do that today, what you would witness is there is going to be an array of a light and dark band out there while you are taking that video clip out there. That's called flicker in the industry. Please come over on our stall and you can have a couple of these interactive panels which we have kept at various places in this vicinity, and take a video clip of 10, 20 seconds out there. You will see there is no flicker, light and a dark band out there. Now, if a camera can capture that light and dark band which is happening out there, eyes are a lot more sensitive than the camera which we are using out there. And that's another piece of eye care which is integrated with BenQ's interactive flat panels, which is flicker-free screens out there. Last is like something which is very, very interesting. It is just about anti-glare, so I won't talk about that at length. But getting into education institutions, you see something which I've mentioned in here called germ-resistant. Now, interesting, if I had my colleagues and friends in office and if they were having cough, cold, or sneeze, I'm sure I won't shake hands with them. But students won't think. They will just not shake hands, they will hug each other, and that's where exactly students are. We can be a bit cautious, but students wouldn't be. So there's something which is there as a technology ingredient out there in these interactive panels which we have brought in for the industry, where we provide screens which are virtually germ-resistant screen. There is, again, a technology white paper for what we are mentioning in here, free ionic silver particle coatings out there. More than 92% of viruses and bacteria which we would leave on these panels would be contained. They will not transfer from one hand to the other hand out there. So again, point is, these are things which are all around us, and these are like supported with proper white papers. This is a SGS, a body headquartered out of Germany, which gives a certification to BenQ screens and panels which have got germ-resistant coating on top. So worth, I would say, caring for it. If we care for our students, parents do care, and I'm sure that's a great value proposition as you put up in your communications to the parents out there, that what exactly is the differentiated piece of care which we have for our students in our kind of technology aids and solutions out there. Again, as I said, this is like something which is a white paper which is available in the industry for a quick reference. Again, one piece which I really love talking about, and I ask this question quite often, anyone in this room like looking at using a 2 megapixels camera, or what's the pixel of the camera which you use back home, or the cameras which are there in your mobile phones? Anyone with the 2 megapixels in this room right now? If none, then we shouldn't be actually investing in technology where you buy devices which are full HD resolution. I'm sorry, again, the technology jargon. Simplifying it, if you are buying a current day screen, and if you are investing in anything which is current day, and if you're not asking for that particular vendor, service provider, or a system integrator, that is the screen 4K resolution or if it is a full HD resolution, you are default making a choice of buying something which is full HD, which is 1920 into 1080 DPIs. If you can gather it, it's okay. Otherwise, that's a simple piece of 1920 into 1080. As you multiply, what you are buying is a 2 million pixel support. That's what we all do. Most of us, we will go for our trips, visits, whatever, we travel to places, we take exotic shots even on platforms like these. But end of the day, when you are watching those exotic shots which you have taken, you support them with a full HD screen out there. So you're rolling back to 2 million pixels out there. And what we say and what we bring in the industry is like moving much faster than what we are today acknowledging, is talk about things which are minimum 4K resolution, which means minimum 8K, 8 million pixels support out there. So the quality has got to be a lot different. A live example, I'm sure again you can come up and I understand I will just take 2 more minutes. You can come up to the stall and you can have a witness out there. If I was to say like, what's the color of nervous system of the body? Anyone? I mean, we would have some strong people in here. What's the color of nervous system of the body? Can you differentiate the nervous system of the body? Yep. So, I mean, you can differentiate if there is a 4K, otherwise we will be struggling to figure out whether there is a bone architecture with a white tinge out there, which is pinkish in nature. I mean, lots of such examples and references which are there in the industry to really acknowledge if in case we are looking at 4K resolution screens and panels out there. And that's what exactly we bring about in the industry. And we say like, that's a reference to have an advantage. This is my last, I would say 2 minutes. I just want to play a video which is going to give you a perspective in terms of how this industry is and how exactly the solutions from BenQ are going to be impacting.
BenQ's new interactive flat panel boasts the friendliest user interface and classroom-ready solutions that can ensure true collaborative learning. It is a 4K interactive display that comes in a wide range of sizes, endowing it with the ultimate flexibility to complement classrooms of different scales. BenQ ensures classrooms can embrace innovation without compromising students' health. As the spread of infection is common in classrooms, the BenQ IFP is empowered by a germ-resistant screen that can kill most bacteria and viruses on contact. Smart eye care technology protects students' young eyes, allowing them to freely explore and learn. With the embedded motion sensor, the IFP can automatically activate low blue light and flicker-free technology. The InstaQ-Share wireless solution is designed to unleash the power of bring your own device, allowing teachers and students to present their ideas with laptops, tablets, and smartphones. BenQ aims to create a collaborative environment where students feel open to discussion and brainstorming. The built-in EasyWrite 4.0 annotation app allows interactive learning to be achieved easier and faster. A single tap can turn the display into a whiteboard. With EasyWrite 4.0, teachers not only can illustrate ideas with the intelligent handwriting recognition technology, but also utilize the toolbox to encourage group participation. When class is over, annotated works can be easily saved and shared within seconds. By browsing BenQ's recommended app list, teachers can easily access the latest technology to keep learning innovative and fun. The IFP's user-friendly design empowers teachers to always stay in the flow. Apart from offering instant access to personal settings and folders through the Smart Account Management System, the IFP also features a hardware design that helps teachers deliver smooth presentations. Equipped with every port needed for teaching, the BenQ IFP allows teachers to enjoy the power of connectivity and guide students with the tools they prefer. When students are interacting with the display, teachers will be able to keep them safe online. With factory-installed display management software, the BenQ IFP ensures setup and management are absolutely hassle-free. The BenQ Interactive Flat Panel is your ultimate display for collaborative learning.
Okay, that was it from BenQ.